Hello, welcome back. So we are starting off with a 30-ounce skinny from the Maker Flow Crafts, and we are starting off with an 8-ounce sippy cup from the Stainless Steel Depot. Now, I actually reviewed this particular, there was like a box of just randoms that they sold, and I bought one just curious, and it was actually in there. It was blue, so I painted it white and then painted it this coral and white color. I mean, white again all over that, just to make sure that we were not having any of that blue color underneath. But it worked out beautifully. You cannot tell that it was blue. So anyways, we started off with those two, and I took them outside. I spray painted them. Like I said, I spray painted this one white, and then I did a coral and then a white over that. The other one I did coral and white. So I am just putting ever so little tiny bit of epoxy on here so that we can glitter them. Now these two stickers here, I end up trying to use the mini one, but this one was a little bit too small for that mini thing. But I wanted to show you both of them here so that you can see that they are, that they come as, you know, kind of a matching little set. So, but you would definitely have to have a bigger cup in the end. So I'm starting off with Kumquat. Now that is a custom mix that I made for the Outlaw glitters. It's a whole bundle. I'm going to show you in the end what the whole bundle is, but you can only get it in that bundle. But it's this gorgeous corally orange that I'm sure if you put like a deep orange color underneath it, it would definitely go way more orange. But I wanted that coral color coming through, so that's why I used this coral spray paint color. Now I'm just doing a basic ombre here. Now I'm doing it because I mixed this color myself before she actually had it mixed for me. So this was in a little container that I put together, and I just slowly kind of tilted the cup, just like every other ombre. I didn't want too much going down in there. Now there are a lot of iridescent colors, so I didn't mind if too many chunkies went down in the white, because it was not going to be too crazy of a color to add to the white color. So it worked out. And I'm just doing the same exact thing here. I'm just picking it up with my fingers and just slowly kind of letting it fall into that white just ever so slightly. Making sure that this is a wonderful mix, because it is, you don't need any kind of filler because there's so much fine and chunky in here. You are going to get a perfect coverage with this. It's a gorgeous color. So then she has two of these color changing glitters at the Glitter Ranch. This one is girly, and then there's boyish. And this one turns pink in the sun, and boyish turns blue in the sun, obviously. So this, I just wanted to kind of add something maybe that would add a little bit of fun if they were outside doing some stuff. And just maybe, because it has just an ever so slight tinge of pink. So I just thought it would kind of bring out that color, so it worked out well. Obviously, it took a lot more to do both of these, and I poured it all out, so I had to redo, put it all back in the jar so that I could get it out. But I wasn't too careful here, because I wanted that white to fall into that orange. I pretty much had established my ombre at that point, so I was just going to let that fall into that orange, no problem. So this was kind of a baby shower combination type of gift that I was putting together for mom and baby. And I also wanted to throw this in. I was at Michael's and I was just shopping around with my friend, and I found this J. I found the letters and I was like, oh, I could do a J. So I thought, oh, I'll paint it. I'll do some paper flowers. And then I thought, why not put the glitter on there and try to do epoxy on there? Because Myra Makes It actually just had done a video about doing a welcome sign. And so I took inspiration from that. As the minute that I saw it, I was like, oh, I could do all these things. And then it was like, boom, it popped in my head that I could do it just like that welcome sign, but it being, you know, a letter for her to put up in her room or whatever. So I was talking a little too much and skipped over that this is the color I used, coral. That was for the cups and for this letter here. So just wanted to make sure y'all saw that. So I was going to show you this little thing that I got off of Amazon. I will definitely link that below. It is the best thing for spray painting cups. It doesn't work on those skinnier, smaller nozzles, but on those big Rust-Oleum nozzles like this, works beautifully. Now, one tip I would say here is everything worked out beautiful. It was perfectly painted and everything. Well, I waited like hours. I mean, literally hours. It was nighttime before I came back out to paint the backside. I flipped it over thinking it was dry and everything was fine. I flipped it over, I painted the backside, and then I came back out later that night and pulled it up, and it had just ever so slightly kind of got a little flaky on there. So I would advise painting the backside first, then flipping over and painting the front side. So just a little tip, but everything worked out fine because once I put the Mod Podge on there and put the glitter, you couldn't tell a thing. But just to make sure. So I got these trays at the Dollar Tree and parchment paper at the Dollar Tree, and I am just setting this up because what I'm going to do is put a coat of Mod Podge on here, and then I am going to glitter it. So it's just as if you were doing Mod Podge on a cup and you were putting glitter. It's the same exact concept. And I'm just using my Mod Podge to squirt there, just evenly. Make sure you do get an even coat, and use a nice soft brush. You don't want to use anything harsh because you don't want lines or anything like that. So definitely use a soft brush and get it coated all over. Make sure you use enough Mod Podge, but not too much to make it goopy and gloppy, because then you'll just have like big chunks of glitter stuck. So just take your time. This is going to be the one time that you have to do something like this, and then we're going to be epoxying it after this. And make sure that you clean up the edges there, just so that you don't have a bunch of Mod Podge, you know, falling over the sides, and then the glitter gets stuck to it, and then you just have a mess. So just take your time. It's so much easier to be mindful in the beginning, because when you get done, you don't have such a huge mess to clean up and then possibly ruin your project or anything like that. So just take your time, and I promise it will work out perfect. And I just doused it in all of the glitter that was left in that little bucket there, and then we'll clean it off after that and let it dry. So once it was dry, I used the polyacrylic just as if I was using it on a tumbler. Same concept. I wanted to make sure that the glitter stayed down and wasn't going to be, you know, collecting up when I put the epoxy on there, because I'm going to have to be really careful and slow when I put this up, because we're going to have to level it and all of that. So I just wanted to make sure that the glitter, everything was going to be just kind of easy to work with. And when you put that coat of polyacrylic on there, it just keeps the glitter in place, and everything is nice and set and ready for you to put that coat of epoxy. And I know you've seen me epoxy many things, but I'm just throwing this in here because I wanted you to know that I put this coat of epoxy and another coat of epoxy after this. 2 coats of epoxy before you even go and try to sand. You just want to make sure that you are solid on that. You do not want to sand through to the cup or the paint or sand the color off the glitter. So I always just do 2 coats right off the bat, bam, and then I go into my sanding, or I'll add another coat of epoxy if I feel that it's necessary. So I kept this at normal speed because I wanted to show you that I actually got this level at the Dollar Tree, and I was coming at it from this angle, right? So I was kind of showing you this angle of the camera because I was looking at that in the middle there. I was looking to make sure, and I put my little scraper, my little vinyl scraper underneath to make sure that it was level, and I moved my little cups around at the bottom just to make sure that everything was level all the way around. So this was literally the epoxy that I mixed up maybe like 10 to 15 milliliters more than what I was using for the actual cups. And so I figured that was going to probably be enough, but I left just enough just to kind of, because I wanted to be able to tell y'all what I used. So I did 30 and 10 for the 30 for hers and 10 for the babies, because it was 8 ounces. And so I probably did about 50 milliliters, and I was able, because I knew I was going to have a little bit left from the 8-ounce cup that was there because it was so tiny. So all in all, I just kind of put everything, I put the rest of the epoxy on there anyway, so it worked out fine. I ended up putting 3 coats of epoxy. This first one was there, and I didn't want to sand this. I didn't want to go in and do any kind of sanding because I wasn't sure how it would react, and I wasn't sure if the wood, I didn't want to get close to the edge. Like, I was just real careful with this. So I just, each time I put a coat of epoxy on something, I just added a little bit extra as soon as I knew that this was cured enough for me to put an extra coat. I just set it aside and then bring it back over, level it out, and then put another coat. And then it took 3 coats. Now, this is a little bit more chunky glitter, so that's probably why. But if you were doing a fine glitter, it may not have, you don't maybe not have to put the 3 coats. But I got down on eye level and looked at it to make sure that I could see if there was any, poked up, or little holes or air bubbles or whatever. That was kind of I looked at it at that angle for most of the time when I was doing this. Also, if I had to do it over again, which I probably would, it did not bother me one bit. This was really a lot of fun, and it really turned out beautiful. I would definitely pat it down with parchment paper before going into, after it after, you put the Mod Podge on and it dries a little bit. Definitely pat it down just to maybe help some of that chunky glitter lay flat. Here I treated it just like a tumbler and treated the epoxy just as though I would anything else. I gave it a little bit of heat just to make sure that it was evening out, maybe pop some bubbles. I didn't put too much because obviously I didn't want it to be moving over the side. But one advice I wanted to say was, if you get epoxy on the side, the epoxy likes to go where epoxy is, right? So it likes to follow. Oh, we're going that way, let's go this way. So make sure that you don't get it over on the sides. Just take your time, like I always say. And this was the kind of the angle I was coming at it to see the different reflections, so I could see if I got it everywhere, see if there was any bubbles, see if I missed a spot, see if I got it over the edge, so I could clean it off. So just take a little look like that. So the cups now have 2 coats of epoxy, and the J has 2 coats of epoxy. I decided to put an extra coat after this when it actually cured, and I could see that I needed just one more coat to make it perfect. Now, these decals I got from Alana's gift shop, and they're awesome. I ended up putting this on slightly, as we say down south, cattywampus. So I put it on so crooked that it was actually kind of like whimsical in the way it looked, because it was like mama, like a stamp or something. So, but I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna go with it. I didn't have an extra one, and if I tried to peel it off, it was, I don't know what I was doing, but I put it on so crooked. But it actually was like so crooked that it kind of looked cute, I guess. I mean, I hope, I don't know, but I just went with it. So once I started looking at this, the cup and the sticker, the decal, I was kind of like, this is going to be too big, but I'm going to try to cut it down and see, and try to get it to, not have so much on the upper and up and down and sides and all that. But once I put it on there, it was just the curve too. The curve came up too much, too fast for that particular decal. It just was not going to work. So I ended up putting it on there, and I was going to mimic the mom and do it crooked. So I put it on so crooked, but no, it was just a mess. And so I ended up taking it off. But then I did them in a matching way of putting both initials on there. So as you can see, I used a leopard print to match the leopard print that was in the decal there, the mama and the mini decal. There was leopard in there. Well, the other cup had that sticker on there still, so I wanted to mimic the two. So when I did that, I realized that I needed to kind of bring in a leopard print content as well to it. So I didn't, I went back and forth, and I decided, I went looking in my vinyl, and I found this beautiful pearlescent corally, it's not even a coral, I mean, it's like a pale kind of corally orange, but it worked out beautifully. It just gave the subtle look of leopard print, and I just absolutely love the way that it turned out. Now, I did not film hers because I'm cool like that, but I am going to show you how I put it on her, on the baby one, which is essentially the same exact way that I put it on there on the big cup, but we're just going to save time here. So the sizing I did for this, I did not take it all the way around, but I did minimize the width a little bit and then made the height a little bit more. I was trying to keep the leopard spots proportional, I guess that was the best way to say it. But this will just be like whatever you decide on the cup. I mean, I would put this on here if you were actually going to use this 8 ounce. I wouldn't suggest the 8 ounce. It's quite small. This is going to probably be more of a novelty item than functional, but I mean, I guess it could be. But anyways, I took the bits and pieces of this leopard print and I just kind of followed along the cup and kind of put them where I thought would look nice. And I just picked up a bunch off of the backing there and then just put them kind of strategically around the cup. So this is basically the same exact thing that I did with the big cup. It just was a lot more of them and a lot bigger space. But this was exactly what I did. And I didn't want to put them all on there, obviously, because it was a curved. So this one was a little more difficult. I had to kind of really find placement appropriately, but in all, it worked out fine. It's just this one's going to take you a little bit longer than that flat rounded surface as the bigger cup is. So then to fill in where it needed to be, I just used my little picker here and picked them up and just kind of wherever I thought, if it needed one on the top a little bit, kind of going into the ombre, or in the bottom to fill in, or wherever. Just that's exactly what I did with the big cup as well. Just kind of used placement, used those spots wherever they needed to be. And there, both of them are together with their little letters. So cute with that leopard print. And like I said, I put one last coat of epoxy on this to keep it as smooth as possible. So this was just a remainder of a little bit of epoxy that I had from other things I was doing, and I just poured it on there and then slowly moved it around just like I did before. And that third coat was perfect. Everything was so smooth and crystal clear, and it came out beautiful. This color is so beautiful. You have to see it in person. Definitely get that Outlaw glitter. The blood, the villainous, all of them are so awesome. These two cups are just so adorable. They match so well. And that little J is going to add such cuteness to her room and such personality and being, personalized for her. And I just love it. These were so cute. I love the leopard print. I will definitely link that in my group. Please go and join my group. And I will see you next time. Here's a video of her reaction.
Look at that. I may be a chair. Nope, I'm squishing.